Dana White has once again spoken out, this time revealing private messages he received from Jon Jones. In an interview with Zach Gelb, Dana explained that Jon had reached out to him directly after the Tom Aspinall situation, sending an apology by text message. According to Dana, Jon admitted he was sorry for how everything played out, and even pushed the idea of wanting to fight on the White House card. While Dana did appreciate the gesture and respected Jon for reaching out, his stance has not changed. He made it clear that he needs fighters he can rely on, fighters who will show up and fighters he can count on when it matters most. Dana explained that while Jon was saying the right things, his history speaks louder than his words. He said, "Jon Jones is obviously saying all the right things. He reached out to me and apologized, but the problem is he's not the guy I can count on. He's not my clutch guy. He's not the one I know is going to be there and not pull out." Those comments highlighted Dana's frustration with Jon's track record, a career filled with incredible highs inside the cage, but also setbacks and controversies outside of it. Zach pressed Dana on whether Jon's apology changed his opinion at all, but Dana was blunt with his answer. He said no, not at all. Even though Dana admitted he appreciated Jon taking accountability and sending that message, it wasn't enough to convince him. Dana reinforced that he values dependability above all else, especially when it comes to high-profile cards like the one planned at the White House. He explained that the organization simply cannot afford to take risks on fighters who have a history of pulling out or dealing with outside issues that derail fights. Jon's text, according to Dana, was straightforward. It was a message along the lines of, "Listen, sorry how this all played out. I want to fight at the White House. I'm serious about that." Dana didn't dismiss the sincerity behind Jon's words, but actions, as he emphasized, always matter more. At this stage of Jon's career, Dana seems to have little patience for uncertainty. He made it clear he needs fighters who are going to walk into the cage on fight night without excuses or last-minute setbacks. This moment once again shows the complicated relationship between Jon Jones and the UFC. Jon remains one of the most talented and accomplished fighters in history, but his inconsistencies and repeated issues have damaged his standing with the promotion. For Dana, the trust factor simply isn't there anymore. Even with Jon's apology, even with his desire to fight on such a historic stage, Dana is standing firm. He wants fighters who are ready, fighters who are committed, and fighters who will deliver when the lights are brightest. So while Jon's message may have been heartfelt, for Dana White it doesn't change the reality of the situation. His priority is making sure that when the UFC stages a massive event, the fighters on the card are 100% dependable. For that reason, Dana has closed the door on Jon Jones being part of the White House event no matter how badly Jon wants it. Just weeks after Khamzat's title-winning performance, the middleweight division is already buzzing with speculation over who gets the next shot. Former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman believes the answer is clear. In his eyes, Nasruddin Imavov has done enough to secure the opportunity, but not everyone shares that opinion. Henry Cejudo, never one to hold back, quickly disagreed. He argued that the UFC could easily pivot and go in another direction, especially with how unpredictable matchmaking can be. That's where things get interesting. Imavov may not have blown everyone away in his last outing against Borralho, but he has put together a solid win streak. He feels confident, even saying he has done everything necessary to earn this chance. For Imavov, the timing seems perfect, yet in the UFC, timing can shift instantly. A division as stacked as 185 doesn't allow room for error. One breakout performance can rewrite the order overnight. That's why all eyes are on Vancouver, where RDR will headline against Anthony "Fluffy" Hernandez. A dominant win from either man could change the landscape immediately. If RDR puts on a highlight reel finish, or if Hernandez comes through with an explosive performance, either one could easily leapfrog Imavov and slide right into contention. It's the reality of the game. One night, one big statement, and the title picture can flip upside down. On the Pound for Pound podcast, the back and forth between Kamaru and Henry painted the contrast perfectly. Kamaru stood firm, repeating that Imavov has done enough. He asked bluntly, who else in the division deserves a title shot more than him right now? Henry, however, was quick to push back. He agreed that Imavov has built a strong case, but reminded Kamaru that the UFC rarely plays by the strict logic of rankings or records. This isn't the Olympics, Henry said. The UFC will always have something up their sleeve. Henry pointed out that a fighter like RDR with his name value or even Hernandez with a statement win could easily skip the line. It wouldn't be the first time. History has shown that all it takes is the right performance in the right spotlight. That's why Henry insisted Imavov's spot isn't guaranteed, no matter how much Kamaru backs him. Kamaru countered, saying he fully believes the UFC should reward consistency and that Imavov has quietly stacked up the results to justify a shot. Henry didn't deny that. In fact, he even admitted he respects what Imavov has accomplished, but his point was simple: this is entertainment first, not a merit-based tournament. The UFC cares about who can create the most buzz, who can headline a massive event, and who can draw the most eyes. In that sense, Imavov might still fall short if someone else delivers a more exciting performance. In the end, the debate highlights just how unpredictable the middleweight division has become. Kamaru sees Imavov as the rightful challenger. Henry sees a division where one explosive win from RDR or Fluffy could shake everything up. And hovering above it all is Khamzat, the new champion, waiting to see who steps forward next. For now, the only certainty is UN Certi, and that's exactly what keeps fans glued to the sport. Fight fans, the wait is finally over. The lightweight division has its next blockbuster matchup, and it's official. Ilya will defend his belt against Justin Gaethje at UFC 324. Ever since Arman made it clear he wasn't next in line, speculation went wild about who the champion's first defense would be against. Now we have our answer, and the news didn't come from just anyone. It came from Alvaro Colmenero, one of the most respected voices in Spanish combat sports media. As director of ABC MMA and a commentator for Eurosport's UFC coverage, Colmenero has inside access that few others can match. Time and time again, he has broken every major story involving Ilya before the UFC made announcements, including the showdown with Charles Oliveira at UFC 317. When Colmenero reports, it's not speculation, it's straight from the source. On his YouTube show, Colmenero dropped the bombshell. Ilya vs Justin Gaethje is set for January 2026. The UFC has intentionally held off on booking Ilya to fight in late 2025, largely because of the Paramount deal. They want to maximize his star power, and opening the new year with a massive main event is the perfect way to do it. Gaethje, a proven name and former interim champion, is nearing the end of his career. Stylistically, the UFC views this as a favorable matchup for Ilya. It's not a disrespect to Gaethje, who is a legend, but the promotion has a long track record of pairing rising stars with aging veterans to boost momentum. This fight fits that mold perfectly, giving Ilya another big platform to shine while delivering fans a marquee name. The timing makes sense for the UFC as well. December cards historically haven't carried the same weight in recent years, while January is seen as the moment to start with a bang. Other names were in discussion. Arman is considered the most dangerous challenger for Ilya, but the UFC is in no rush to make that fight. They want to build it up, letting the rivalry grow before pulling the trigger. A potential money fight with Paddy Pimblett is also on the radar, but that's a matchup better saved for later in 2026 when the hype is at its peak. For now, the focus is Gaethje, a high-profile opponent who still guarantees fireworks every time he steps into the octagon. The stylistic clash is fascinating. Most fans expect a striking war given Gaethje's knockout power and Ilya's crisp, precise boxing, but there's always the question of whether Ilya will lean on his grappling. Many in the MMA world underestimate his ground skills simply because his striking is so sharp. Joe Rogan even spoke about this, pointing out that when fighters are as dangerous on the feet as Ilya, people tend to forget just how elite their ground game really is. Rogan said, "With you it's all danger. You have a very well-balanced game, which is unusual. That's what makes Ilya so special. He can beat opponents wherever the fight goes. His striking is world-class, but his grappling is just as polished, making him one of the most complete fighters in the sport today." Against Gaethje, the UFC is betting that this balance will shine through, showcasing not only Ilya's ability to finish fights but also his skill to dominate in every area. This fight isn't just about defending a belt, it's about setting the tone for the year, and Ilya is being positioned as one of the faces of the UFC alongside Khamzat. January 2026 is shaping up to be explosive, and Ilya vs Gaethje is the perfect way to kick it all off. Dana White just dropped a massive update regarding the highly anticipated White House event, and fight fans everywhere are buzzing. For months, speculation has been swirling about when this historic show would actually take place. Originally, all signs pointed to July, right around Independence Day. The timing seemed absolutely perfect, especially since July 4th next year happens to land on a Friday. The idea of a monumental UFC event at the White House paired with one of the biggest holidays in the country had fans convinced it was a lock. The hype was real, and the anticipation was only growing stronger with each passing week. But now Dana has made it official, and things have shifted in a different direction. Instead of July, the event will now be happening in June. That's right, Dana revealed the president's original plan was indeed July 4th, but as it turns out, the president's schedule is way too stacked on that day. According to Dana, July 4th is one of the busiest dates imaginable for the White House. The president is committed to appearances across multiple states, traveling non-stop throughout the day, making it logistically impossible to host an event of this scale. That realization forced the team to adjust the timeline, and now the focus is fully on June as the most realistic and practical option. Dana explained the whole situation in his straightforward style, saying, "It's more likely to be June than July. The president wanted to do it July 4th. The president didn't realize how stacked his schedule is on July 4th. He's going to be in like 3 different states that day. So it's looking more like June." That one statement not only confirmed the change but also gave fans the clarity they've been waiting for. What once looked like a perfect Independence Day spectacle has now been reshaped into a summer blockbuster a month earlier. The move to June doesn't take away from the magnitude of this event at all. In fact, it may actually make things smoother. Hosting something this massive at the White House requires coordination on every level: security, logistics, fighters, media, and international coverage. With the president's schedule jam-packed in July, trying to force it on that date would have only created chaos. By pulling it back into June, Dana and the UFC can ensure everything runs at the highest level without competing with the whirlwind of July 4th festivities. Fans may be slightly surprised by the switch, but the truth is, June might actually be the perfect fit. The UFC has always thrived by doing things differently, by staying one step ahead, and this adjustment is no exception. The White House event is still going to be one of the most iconic once-in-a-lifetime moments in the history of the sport. Whether it's July or June doesn't really change the fact that this will be something fans talk about for decades to come. The countdown is officially on, and now everyone can circle June on their calendars. Dana has spoken, the date is set, and the UFC's historic White House event is finally becoming a reality.